Thank you for waiting on this one. It took a little bit to edit, but I wanted to give this to you guys before the month of May was over, since we did have a little bit of a break after the Resident Evil 3 podcast. We did put out the Nicole Tompkins interview and the Jeff Shine interview for episodes of the show, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. And that was a really fun time to talk to them, and it was really cool to get the opportunity, and everybody seemed to enjoy it. Hope everyone has been enjoying the content we've been putting out, and we've been live streaming again with the Legacy Plus series. So we've been going back and playing games that we've already played, but there's mini games, there's separate scenarios, stuff we have to go back and play, because when we were doing the Legacy series initially, we didn't want to lose focus and do all the extra stuff because of the time crunch that we were in. And because of the time that we had, we couldn't possibly fit every single minigame and every single thing in there. So we're having the members vote on the next live streams that we do. And the poll is up right now as you're hearing this podcast. And there's another thing that's also in the bottom of the community post that you'll see. I think there's two posts. You'll see one that is about the live stream that we just did, but you'll also see a Q&A post. It gives you the opportunity to leave a question, and we can read it here on the show. We're going to be doing a June show. There is going to be some cool stuff happening in June, so we're going to be covering that, and we're going to be doing a couple shows. So, we always try to plan a little bit ahead, and we like having the community, the fans, gauge where everything's going and in what order. And a big thank you to all the members and everyone that donated and everyone who supports us on the membership plan and the Patreon. It doesn't matter where you are. Everyone that always comments or likes and just is a part of the discussion, seeing the same faces and the lovely faces in the chat. We see the people that matter, the people that always show up, the community, and it's always a laid back environment, and it's always fun. And I don't know, I just want to say I'm very grateful, and I appreciate it. And I know that there could be a lot of negativity right now with everything that's going on, and hopefully we could be positive together. We can talk about video games, we can talk about Resident Evil and chill and hang out, and that's what this place is meant to be, is just a place where we can kind of talk about our favorite series and debate. And it doesn't matter if it's a video game we hate or a movie we hate or whatever. We all find some kind of something in common no matter what. And it's always a good time, so and we really appreciate it, and so much more to come, and we're just so excited. And 2020, for the content we have planned, we have a lot of stuff planned, a lot of ideas, and of course we'll keep the live streams going. The live streams don't stop. We're doing that weekly. It's just our schedule right now is kind of random because we are working and stuff like that. So but right now we don't have like a consistent schedule because we're still in this pandemic. So I'm still kind of adjusting, and John is adjusting. We're all adjusting to how we can make everything work. But next month, because we're wrapping up May, this is May 31st as you're hearing this recording in this podcast, the members voted on YouTube. And Resident Evil, the 2002 movie, is going to be the topic of conversation for a podcast. It is going to be a review, my friends, a review. And that's going to be a very fun one. John was not expecting that. I didn't tell him about the poll. I just kind of did it because I was like, you know what? I'm going to put it on there because people have talked about us reviewing the movies forever. like forever. So I think it's appropriate. And, you know, we're going to watch it. Watching these movies after years, you revisit them and you see all the problems with them. So, you know, you will see the bad and we'll see the good, and we'll weigh it out if there's any good at all. The first movie, I'm just like, I always appreciated Apocalypse a little bit more than the first movie. I don't know. Is it just me? I feel like there was more going on. Like, at least it was like an action movie. Like, it was entertaining. When I see a movie, I want to be entertained, you know? Like, I don't care. It does shit on the story and the characters, and it shits on Jill Valentine, like, absolutely. Like, without a doubt. But again, we're talking about two turds here. They're not great. But yeah, that's going to be a fun show. But of course, you know, the people that support the show, you guys got the chance to vote on that, and we appreciate that. And the other topics that we have in the polls and the other live streams that we're putting out for you guys, all of those other options won't be like discarded. They're all going to just rotate in. So certain topics and stuff will come up and will be talked about no matter what. But yes, so this show was recorded a few weeks ago, and we are finally putting it up. I'm finally ready to edit and, you know, post and everything like that. May was a little bit of a rough month for me. So, you know, we're just going to press on and keep going on with the content, and we're going to stay positive. And we live streamed last night, and it was a great live stream, and thanks for everyone that came out. We did, you know, separate ways, Resident Evil 4 separate ways. So how appropriate for this podcast to come out the next day. That was my plan all along. So this is the Resident Evil 4 remake pre-release podcast, where me and John shoot the shit and bring up some points as to what we would like to see in the Resident Evil 4 remake. And before we begin the show, big shout out to Jeff Grunn, who worked on an intro for the podcast. As you know, we're always using different music bits and whatnot for segues and segments on the show, intros and on videos and stuff like that. And he wanted to contribute. And what you're about to hear is his little introduction, if you will. We have an intro and an outro that we're going to be using, but thank you, man. It came out fucking awesome. It's very metal vibe, which I absolutely love. And a really nice guy. I met him at Monster Mania when I was working at, I think, Daniel Harris. I think I was working at her table, or it was someone, Skeet Ulrich maybe. I don't even know. I was somewhere. I was doing something. I don't even remember. But yeah, really nice guy, and you know, really good friend of the show. And, you know, really appreciate the time that you took to record this, because it came out awesome. It sounds great. And, you know, if you're listening to this in your car speakers, definitely turn it up a little bit. You're going to hear some heavy riffage in a minute. But yes, so thank you, man. We really appreciate that. And it's always great to, you know, meet and chat with all of you guys and stuff like that. It is a shame that, you know, cons and stuff like that are going to be, you know, of different animal from here on out, and it's going to be a while until I even work the shows again, which you know, I'm deeply going to miss. You know, I don't know how they're going to run it. You know, maybe we'll find out. I mean, maybe I'm assuming. I mean, maybe they might figure out a way to do some capacity limits with masks or something. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. You know, I know they're doing virtual cons, and I think Horror Hound was doing that, and Wizard World and stuff like that. So we'll see. But this is the Resident Evil 4 pre-release show.
This is Jeff Shine, the voice of Carlos in Resident Evil 3, and you're listening to the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast.
What is going on, everyone? We are back with another Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast. And I'm also here with John.
Yes, I am here.
And we got some stuff to talk about. We don't have any solid, you know, news or information with this podcast. This podcast, as you see in the title, and when you downloaded it, whatever the case may be for this podcast, it is a Resident Evil 4 remake show. And we know at this point in time that Capcom is working on Resident Evil 4. We know that this is the new remake that they have in development. And for Resident Evil 4, this podcast in particular is going to be us talking about what we would like to see in Resident Evil 4. So we're not really basing it off of any information other than the fact that we played Resident Evil 4. We love Resident Evil 4. We have so many years of playing it and experiences with it. So taking everything that we know about the game, this show is going to be us talking about what we would like to see in the remake in our opinions. So obviously, leave the comments down below on what you would like to see in Resident Evil 4, what you would like to see change. But we're going to get into some of the points that we have here with Resident Evil 4. But also we can start, I guess, by talking about when this was officially kind of announced on the interwebs, I guess. It was a few weeks ago, right? It was in April. It was right after Resident Evil 3. So, at this point, it's known that that is being in development. We just don't have anything solid to go off of. In regards to Resident Evil 4, for me personally, Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time, for sure. It is I always call it a masterpiece of a game. There's a lot of stuff that, that when I play that game, it brings me back to when it came out, and I still play it to this day, and it's very fun. It's very enjoyable. I actually did a little run just on my own, just alone, off camera, just to play through it a few weeks ago. And it's still fun. It still holds up to this day. So when you're going into this territory, it's for me, it's very similar to how I felt personally about 3, because 3 was my favorite game of all time. So when you're remaking Resident Evil 4, there's so many things that you may want them to do or may not want them to do or change. So of course that's also going to be a topic of conversation when we talk about what we would actually like to see in it or changed, because I don't think Resident Evil 4 is I don't think a lot needs to change, or something. There was stuff that was wrong with Resident Evil 4, but knowing the RE engine and what they did with 2 and 3 is what I'm really going to base off how they're going to pull this one off. Resident Evil 4 for me, though, it's always been on my top 5 all time, easily, games and Resident Evil games. How do you place Resident Evil 4 in regards the original? I guess we'll talk about that real quick before we get into remake. You've had obviously plenty of experiences with RE4.
Oh yeah.
So
one of my probably most played games on the GameCube, and I played the GameCube for years. I had the GameCube first, I would say, in that generation. I owned a PS2 and never owned an Xbox, but I did own a PS2 and I owned a GameCube, and I predominantly played the GameCube almost probably 80% of the time. Resident Evil 4 was, again, I probably had 22 or 23 save files that were completed a new game. I think Resident Evil 4 is a timeless masterpiece. I don't think that it's my favorite Resident Evil game, but I definitely would say I would have a hard time ever trying to convince myself that it's not in my top 15 games of all time. I actually recently just sat down and tried to figure out what my top 20 games of all time was. I think I wrote it down 7th or 8th. In no particular order, but I wrote it down. It was in the top 10, I think, one of the first games that came to mind, up there with Final Fantasy VIII and Pokemon Gold and Silver and Zelda Ocarina of Time and Resident Evil 2, and it was one of the first that came to my mind, really. I agree with you. I think it's a masterpiece. I do think it has issues, but nowhere near the amount of issues that 2 and 3 had. Going into a remake. So putting myself in the mentality of what can we improve upon? There's not much. Graphically is a cop-out. Everything can get better graphics. The Unreal Engine just came out with the PS5 and the Xbox tech demos, and everything was gorgeous, and every other word out of their mouth was triangles. There's so many triangles. Everything can have more triangles, right? Everything can have more trinities in them. It's hard to think of something that I would pinpoint and be like, that's where Resident Evil 4 struggles. And I think you will agree with me, and we'll get into this a little bit more down the line, but it really comes down to the last third of the game. I think is a little loose. Would you agree with me in saying that the village part of this game is like incredible?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think the village is definitely one of those places that's always iconic. That's the first thing I think of when I think of Resident Evil 4, and my favorite part of the game is the castle. So
Castle is my favorite part as well.
And the village was even in the demo, so it's one of those things where it's like, it's such a, that's what kind of, I remember just seeing so many promotional pictures and shots when it came out, and it was all Leon in the village killing the villagers or shooting the villagers, whatever the case may be. The village is a big part.
Set the tone. It set the atmosphere.
Yeah, it really did.
Set the expectation. The castle was a great follow-up because it's like the reverse philosophy of every other Resident Evil game that came before it, where you start in a small, trapped environment and you have to work your way out and figure it out to get it to escape. Whereas in this game, your primary directive isn't to escape, it's to recover somebody. So there's already a switch up that happens.
Rescue mission kind of thing.
There's already a switch up that happens as soon as you take control of Leon, because this is the first Resident Evil where, I mean, I guess technically Code Veronica would count because you're looking for Chris, so you go to look for Chris. But then as soon as you're captured in the cutscene and you wake up, it's an escape story.
Yeah, your objective's different, right? Yeah.
This game just has, Leon, and he's going in to recover Ashley Graham, the president's daughter, and unravel the mystery of who kidnapped her, why she was taken, and what's going on in the lonely rural part of Europe that he ended up in. It's a different tone, but it works because, one, Leon is a beloved character, and I would say his belovedness really solidified in 4. Like, that was when people were like, Leontards. Like, that was when that term came around. I know it's a little contradictory to say the word Leontard when I am a Leontard, because I love Leon.
Right.
But I love him for a lot of reasons. It's not just because he was in my favorite games. Like, it is what it is. I just like his character. More so, I like him and Ada together more than just him by himself. Like, I like the dynamic between them two characters, which we'll get into because we're going to talk about some things we want to see. But yeah, it just came through as like, it hit different than the other Resident Evil games. And the castle part was just the best follow-up. Like, it almost felt like the castle part was a sequel to the village, because there was like that 1-2 punch. And then you get to the island. And that's where I start to have some issues with the game. But even looking at the islands, like, there's not much here that's like bad. There's just some things that are here that is like, this might not have been the best decision.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's bad? That's up to everybody to decide for themselves. I know you, like me, have a couple problems with the island.
Yeah, some of the stuff, like the sequences of stuff, like having like the mines in the middle of everything, and then the Krauser fight. Like, the placement of stuff's a little weird sometimes. And of course, like, you're getting shot at and stuff like that on the island. So my main thing when I always think of Resident Evil 4, as far as like any like small issues that I have with it, would be, the fact that obviously it took a more action route. It's not a bad thing though, because like even RE3 Remake and RE3 Original did the same thing. But the fact that we weren't really told in the story of like that's the problem, is that we were just told in the story about what happened with Umbrella, and we weren't shown anything. We don't see anything. It's just like, Umbrella's finished. It's like, all right, well, thanks, Leon. Like, I guess we're here now. Like, that kind of stuff needs to be changed, in my opinion. But that was something that always stuck with me throughout the years. Even though it's my favorite game, I've always been like, man, like, they really just kind of like shot that shit down immediately after years of learning about this corporation, for them to only bring it back. So it felt even more like weird and forced later when you see it in 5. Chris like wipes the fucking wall and it's Umbrella, and you're like, oh shit. And then of course, like, then 6 happens and you have Neo Umbrella. So it's like, I think that's one thing that I always would want them to change in the beginning, whether it's a bigger intro or another cutscene or, something that shows it other than just being told it, and I think that's just one thing that I think about.
Bro, like, number one theory, number one lesson to back up what you're saying is, like, they always say in storytelling, show, don't tell. And I 100% agree with you. It kind of felt like Umbrella just got tossed to the wayside, and they kind of game-splain what happened, like you said. I feel like we're missing a game. Like, it felt like we were missing a game, like their downfall. Because Code Veronica doesn't really go into it too much either. It just kind of goes into the Ashford side of things.
Right, and then we got Umbrella Chronicles on the Wii, but it almost felt like, 2 minutes too late because you're like, well, fuck, like, it's in this fucking Wii spin-off game after 4. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I wanted to see this in 4. Like,
and even then, how reliable is Wesker as a narrator?
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't really know what is really happening with Umbrella. You just know that Leon says, like, Umbrella was finished.
Stock market's crashed, and you're like,
stock
okay.
market crash, and then blah, 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 blah. But, like, you never really get to see the punch. You never get to see Umbrella get knocked out, which is missed opportunity.
Because the last thing you saw in the main series was Raccoon City get destroyed, and then Jill and Carlos or Barry left, and she says, Umbrella's going down, or Umbrella's finished. You say all these things, and then in the time that this came out, Umbrella Chronicles isn't out. So imagine being there playing it when it came out, and you're just like, this is all we have?
Yeah.
And you're like, I guess I just got to roll with this.
Yeah.
And everyone did roll with it because it became, again, 10 out of 10 in the next era of Resident Evil, and it redefined games.
It became the global era.
If it wasn't for this game, you wouldn't have Gears of War, Dead Space, all the behind-the-back stuff. I mean, this revolutionized everything. So it was very impactful. So I think some of those little things were overlooked at the time because it was such a great game, but like reeling it back in as like a fan, you're like, damn, like that's the first point that I have on my list here is show more of the fall of Umbrella instead of just talking about it in an intro scene. Even if I'm not even saying tell it in the intro, but even if you like give more to that while the game's going on, like Leon talks about it or someone brings it up and maybe we can show this cutscene or something that really doesn't make it feel like it's like just a rushed thing.
If they do it in the intro, though, they could tell it in a better way. Like they could tell it and show it.
Yeah,
instead of it being
take
a
away
red
Leon's
background.
narration, like fade his narration out and be like an Umbrella, and then it shows like Chris and Jill can be in the fucking facility. Like it can show us anything. They literally can show us anything they want, or play it. Like that'd be cool if we fucking played it. Like literally, like we're Jill, and then Chris has like another model, and like we actually see some more of that to that canon. Hopefully, if they keep it like that, they can change it. But I don't know, just something that like as a fan you want them to do, and then if they don't do it, I honestly would kind of be like, come on, you guys really.
Well, the problem is that if they were to do something like that, Resident Evil 4 is not the place. They should make a game.
It's not.
Like they should make a game, and they should do something like, bro. I'm speaking for if they do it in this game, I think it's a bad move because it's not the focus, right?
Right, and it's not
so
what
Resident
people
Evil 4
remember.
kind of game-splains it. It would almost be better if they didn't say anything. Like if Leon was just like, I'm here, but he had to go into the monologue and he had to say like, well, Umbrella's finished and I'm here now and working for the government. He had to do something because they didn't want to confuse players, right? They didn't want players to be like, what the hell? Like, where's Raccoon City? Because fuckers don't pay attention. So like they played Code Veronica and they never watched, like they never beat 3, so they never saw the bomb go off.
Right. Or they didn't play it on GameCube before it came out.
Yeah, or they played Resident Evil 4 first. So that's an even bigger thing, right? So if you played Resident Evil 4 first, which many people did.
Yeah, it was the introduction to a lot of people.
Now, the PS2 and all that whole era, that generation of consoles was like the boom in gaming. That was when everybody really started you saw them, the DVD player aspect.
Yeah.
All that stuff, like people really started to carry them. So a lot of people started with Resident Evil 4. And if you started with 4, like you're probably sitting there at the beginning like, what the fuck? Like what is Umbrella?
Yeah.
And then they're never brought up in the game until Leon mentions Wesker when he sees Krauser towards the end. He's like, "You working for Wesker?" Or no, he says it to Ada.
To Ada, yeah.
Ada. So when he says it to Ada, I said Krauser. I don't know why I said that, but he says it to Ada, and then Ada comes back. And if you never played 2, you're like, "Who the hell's the bitch in the red dress?" I don't understand. There's optional cutscenes you can miss with Ada, where if you don't go back into the room, she won't shoot through the window. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. Like, give us a CGI film about the fall of Umbrella. That would be cool.
Yeah, the Bridget.
Like, give us a CGI film.
Yeah.
If they can't make a game of it, give us a CGI film. Because Umbrella Chronicles has the Arctic facility. It has Jill and Chris going to the place. Make it a CG film, dude.
It doesn't have to be a whole fucking game.
No, it doesn't have to be a game.
Use all your resources, to make a game about that when they can just explain it in like an hour and a half fucking animated film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I think...
Just call it Resident Evil, The Fall of Umbrella.
Yeah, Fall of Umbrella.
There
yeah,
you go.
That's
like,
it.
It's Capcom, fucking do it.
Do it.
Just do it. Hashtag, we do it.
We do it. I think me and you feel the same way about the story. I think they could definitely make the story... Just like they can fix little things like that I think can make it feel complete and full. We definitely don't want them to cut any like major parts out of it, but they still might of the story.
So going into the story, we have to consider that they may make cuts, right? I was explaining to Anthony off stream. We were having a conversation kind of like we always do. We hype each other up and get ready to go into the podcast. And I'm having a hard time figuring out what they could realistically cut without dramatically shifting the story.
Right, because it does seem like every part is important, so if anything, like they might, trim some fat in regards to content, but I feel like if they keep the main, like, keep the big cheese and keep the castle with Salazar and keep, like, I think Village, Big Cheese Village, Salazar Castle, Sadler Island, like, those are like 3, and then obviously you have Krauser peppered in and U3 peppered in and Vertigo, like all these enemies. So
they have the Del Lago. So like, let's start with the Del Lago, right? So the Del Lago, I could see them cutting. I don't want it to be cut, but I could see them figuring out a way for Leon to not go through the river or the lake.
Right.
Like they could cut that and it's not like pivotal to the story. Right.
I did kind of like it though, because it made you think like what would happen if the parasites infected like fish, like what would happen in the water, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that idea because you think about that, you're like, well, it's affecting the villagers. How would it affect like this giant fish that probably wasn't once the size, but like, I like that. That would be cool if they kept something like that.
Well, it was a salamander.
It was a salamander?
Yeah, it was a salamander-based parasite, I think, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, justifiably so. It's like, it's still cool to see that side of it, you know?
No, for sure, 100%. And the wolves. Like,
the wolves are cool.
Wildlife I want to come back. I definitely think they shouldn't cut it, but we're just hypothetically saying what would they cut?
Right.
Maybe they cut the first El Gigante.
Yeah, maybe they make it like a
regular reoccurring enemy.
Yeah, because he shows up again when you have to get the old key and leave through that one windy way that has the boulder.
Yep, if you go left or right.
If you go that way. So
you go right. I think it's right. Left is the chainsaw system.
Yeah, so it's like if you do that, like stuff like that, like they can make it like that's the first time you see El Gigante, but this time you're with Ashley, and maybe, or maybe Ashley won't be there. You know what I mean? I mean,
well, that's another thing we have to get into too, is just talking about Ashley in general. How is Ashley going to really react in this game? Like, how is she going to be utilized in this game? Is she going to be a follower? Is she going to be...
Is she going to help?
Is she going to help? Like, is she going to have a flashlight? Is she going to... How dark is this game going to be? There's so much to talk about. We don't have enough information.
Right, we really don't. Like, that's why we're really just basing off of like maybe what we would like to see of being fans of the game for so long and playing it all these years. And, you think about like for me...
Is she going to hide in the dumpsters that literally don't look like they belong?
Yeah, the dumpsters are stupid.
They're just there.
The one thing that I put for Leon anyway, before I talk about Ashley, is like I put a new Leon that is hopefully based off Nick Apostolides from RE2, because I thought he did a great job. I would like to see his personality and his traits come out in Leon, because one thing that a lot of people were talking about in the live chat the other day was some people don't like the fact that Leon was played in a more goofy and silly way. They like the fact that he was more like he always had that humorous kind of side, but like a lot of people from what I saw in our community, I'm saying our community, I'm not going to put out the web generalized, but some of people in our community wanted to see him more serious. And what do you think about that? Being Leon's one of your favorite characters, because in 2 Remake, for example, of course he has he says stuff as he's shooting and he's in these situations, so he has that side. But he still was a rookie. He was still green. Now he's going to be like lived in. Like this is a lived in Leon, and he's going to be a government agent. So you would think he would act almost different and not like more silly or goofy. What do you think about that?
So Leon is a product of his past, right? So you have Leon. First of all, I disagree heavily with those people. I think that Leon doesn't need to be Mr. Serious. He never was Mr. Serious. When he was a rookie in Resident Evil 2 Remake, even in the original Resident Evil 2, he was portrayed as somebody who didn't know what the hell was going on. Right? So he had no idea what was going on the whole
time.
He's like, my name's Leon, and I am with the RPD.
Why is my world falling apart around me?
He's like, what's with that guy? That was a clean shot. Like when he's shooting him in the alley, and he's like, get down, and he shoots the thing, and he's like, you come with me to the station. And then like you see Kendo, and if you're playing Leon A, and you see Kendo, and then Leon's like, what's going on in this town? And like he keeps talking to everybody, and as he goes through the motions, he kind of always feels like this kind of B humor where nobody listens to him.
Right.
And he says it.
He says stuff.
He like acknowledges it. He's like, why doesn't anybody ever listen to me? Like, I don't understand what's going on. He's like, he just keeps talking, right?
I see with RE4, they gave him like one-liners, and they gave him that beat list
now
of like an action movie, Hasta Luego, and he's saying all these like
an action movie. Sounds like an action movie because around the time Resident Evil 4 came out, that was what was popular. And when Resident Evil 2 was around, the Japanese didn't really understand how to write that kind of character. That was when Capcom and them, I shouldn't say the Japanese, I should say the Capcom, right? So because I'm sure there's Japanese producers and stuff who understood Western horror a lot. Western movies and action movies.
Big influence from them and stuff.
There's a big difference. I'm not a movie buff. You know this. Right. Everybody in the chat should know this by now. But there's a big difference between Western action and Eastern action.
Absolutely.
A huge difference.
Big difference,
like, you got your kung fu thrillers over there, and then over here you've got like Die Hard, right? So you have like all these different
betrayals.
or you have Predator, right? So there's like a lot of different kind of action.
You got your Arnold, your Stallones, your Bruce Willis,
your Bruce Willis, and my favorite,
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
No,
he's one of my favorites.
Who is it? I
love Jean-Claude
Steven Seagal.
Oh yeah,
I love Steven Seagal. People hate on him, but he's awesome. I love him.
He has issues.
He does have issues.
He does when he's playing a good character. He can play it.
Yeah. But like they didn't have like a real understanding of what was going on, and as they developed as writers, they wrote differently. They wrote differently.
Yeah.
They probably brought on some new writers. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head who was the scenario writer for 4. I know Shinji Mikami did work on it.
Right.
He was the director. So I'm not 100% sure about that. But I do know that as companies progressed over the course of the 90s and the early 2000s, they changed their philosophies a lot, especially around their target audience, right? So 4 was written with that very B-movie action, one-liner joking thing. But Leon stuck to that from 4 on. He stuck to except for Damnation. He was like a flat pancake in that movie. But like, that is Leon. That was Leon. That's who he is. He's fucking fed up with the world. He's tired of everything. You think he cares that he just shot something's head off? No, he don't fucking care. He's going to still deliver a one-liner. Doesn't matter if you just punched him through 3 walls. He's going to be like, yeah, your right hand comes off. Because I guess the word would be like exasperated. He's done.
What do you think about them bringing back the Metal Gear Solid fucking radio transmissions? I think that shit's gonna be cut.
So
I think that has to be cut. There's no fucking way.
I definitely. I saw fan art, like a fan CG, of him going like this and pulling out the radio phone, and it's just like it shows him on the camera and then Hunnigan.
Nowadays it would be an iPhone, just like like FaceTime Hunnigan. Hey Hunnigan, what's the status update? Oh, your helicopter got shut down. Great.
I think Hunnigan is going to talk to him through the headset.
Yeah, it's not going to be a pull you out of the experience, fade to black, and it's like a Metal Gear But
I think that on the bottom of the screen, I could definitely see them having like that Metal Gear Solid, like the rectangle with Hunnigan's face comes up as she's talking.
Oh,
and Leon's
yeah.
listening. I could see them doing something
where it's more like fluent, like you can run and move while she's talking to you. Like, you know how in RE5, like HQ would talk to you and you would still be running?
Yeah.
Like that. Just make it to
Or
where they talk into your ear.
when she talks to you during cutscenes, it would be really cool if
You saw her from her command center?
yes,
Yeah.
if they cut the camera, the cutscene to her in
And
the
you see
command
her
center.
pulling shit up on the monitors and
like
stuff like that.
like a TV procedural. Dustin would be better at explaining this than I would, but like he would have actual examples. But it would be like you know, where he's like, "What do you mean?" Like you always see that cutscene where like, I don't know, Grissom from fucking whatever NCIS, whatever show he was on. He's like talking on the phone. He's like, "What do you mean?" And then it cuts to the person in the lab, and they're on the phone, and they're like, "Well, you know, I just checked into this, and it turns out she's dead."
And
Tim."
like they did in Vendetta in the movie,
in Vendetta,
when it shot to her like at the
Hunnigan,
computer.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's all you got to
yeah,
do.
So that's all they got to do. They just have to make Hunnigan there,
Yeah.
and use her, and then
Takes out the
where they
whole-
can't cut to her. They could use the little square at the bottom for like her
Right.
voice, or just have her talk to Leon.
Leon, I sent you over a game manual. You should probably check it out. Like,
Just
just
check it out. Sure,
Sure.
I'll take a look.
It's cool. Like that. Like
I will.
I've
fucking
never.
scream if they do that again.
I've never personally.
Leon, don't forget to press the A button to pick up the ammo.
Make sure you know how to take that weapon off the wall.
A button. I'll hit your A button, Hannigan.
Overtime.
I'll tap your A button.
I never had a problem with Leon in this game personally, so I'm in the same way where
Now I will say
I don't agree with what they were saying.
Yeah, I will say I didn't like that they made his voice super deep. It wasn't consistent with the original. Like Leon's voice was kind of like mine, I guess, and then his Resident Evil 4 voice was like yours.
Right.
I don't know where his balls dropped between 21 and 26.
Yeah, but
somewhere between there,
something
like
just
his
changed,
balls
yeah.
like dropped. So I would like Nick to come back because I like Nick's voice a little bit more.
Right.
And they could make it a little harder,
They can.
but they don't need to make it like deep. Like it
Right.
doesn't need to be
Exactly,
like
because
Ashley.
like you just said to your point of how old he is from 2 to 4.
Yeah.
You could still use Nick and just have him play
voice
it
isn't
more.
gonna change much.
Right, exactly. And like you could just play it like you would. Just now, Leon's just Nick could play it in a different way because he's up against. He's in a different situation now. You know what I mean?
You want to know my
So-
hot take though? They're gonna give him a beard.
A beard.
They're gonna give Leon a beard.
They're gonna give him the hipster beard.
He's gonna have like a full ruffian.
Is he gonna like take a record off the turntable and then go to Spain?
He's gonna get handlebars. It's gonna be Abraham Leon.
Oh no, I love Leon in this game. I don't mind if they, I know they're gonna do his character right because they know
Yeah,
the
they're
fans
gonna
know
do it
Leon. Just like
They
how,
better, or their
in my
fucking building's
opinion,
gonna burn down.
just like how I know that they knew Jill and they would do her right in 3, and just like how they did Leon right in 2. It's like we saw that pattern, so at least we already have kind of like a skeletal idea of what Leon's going to be in the 4th game, the remake. My other point was Ashley making her a better character, not only a better character, but useful during gameplay, like we just said. So if she's in this game and she does the same thing as she does before, where she just waits behind you and gets grabbed and hides, and you got to put her in a dumpster, I guess, for certain parts. There's certain times in the original Resident Evil 4 where she would get kidnapped so many times, I was almost like, what was the point of bringing her back? Because she would just get kidnapped like an hour later into the game. So like I feel like if they did something like that, like just change how many times she gets kidnapped, maybe have her get kidnapped like twice, like unless she's just that bad at getting taken.
I would make her recoverable by the halfway point of the game, and then I would make you have to save her for the last half. Like give you half the game without her and half the game with her instead of breaking it up.
Yeah.
So it feels more like Leon's actually really protecting her. Than him getting it's like a comedy movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And I don't expect her to like be, completely, maxed out to because she's supposed to be 18 or 17 or 18, whatever, or 16, I think. 17, 18, I don't fucking know.
19.
19?
She's 19.
19.
Or 20.
Yeah, they can change
She's
it.
20.
She could be
She's 20.
fucking. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure she's 20.
Yeah, they can make it whatever in this game, but I don't expect her to be like, know how to use a weapon or, well,
that's the thing.
That's why Moira came up, because Moira couldn't. She had that fear of using a gun, and obviously she used one up until a certain point in Revelations 2. but she uses like flashlight or she like helped Leon with certain puzzles. Like I wouldn't be opposed to them making it kind of like how they did in 4 where you boost her up and stuff, but like it's almost like if, you know, she's just more of a vital role on how you can get around certain areas and stuff like that. You know, don't make it co-op. I don't think it's really necessary to make it co-op because again, she's like, if they make her in the game even less, then it's like more or less of a point to do that. But make it, I don't know, just make it make sense. And you know, I always just thought Ashley was just kind of annoying, to be honest. Always was, always will be. Like hearing that Ashley call is like always a fun time for my ears, because it's terrible.
Ashley.
Yeah. Where are you?
Ashley, hide.
And it's like, okay, what am I doing?
Hide.
So Ashley's just like, you know, they could easily do something with her.
Also,
that makes it make sense, you know,
because they could have Leon. If Leon was really there in that situation, he would give Ashley a handgun.
I guess, but like, what if she fucking like shoots herself? Then it's like,
then
it's on Leon.
Shoot. She's 20 years old.
She wouldn't know how to use a gun.
All you have to do is pull the trigger.
Nobody
Leon
in that situation.
Do
you think the president's daughter should know how to shoot a gun, but she probably doesn't know how to shoot a gun. So we can't.
What if they replace Ashley with Moira, and it's Barry's daughter that got kidnapped, and Barry's the president?
Barry's
President
the
Burton.
President. I'll actually take that storyline.
It's like, President Burton, what are you supposed to do about the gun law? Well, they're going to be free for all to get. America died 3 months later.
Yeah.
President Burton.
Forget President Graham. We need President Burton.
I mean, President Graham pussies out of his Canada's presidency anyway.
Really?
After all this shit happens, he's a fucking quits. And then Adam Benford comes around. Not right after, but it's a couple years, like, because he opens up to the public when they say that, or Adam, I forget who did what. I'm blanking out because I haven't looked at it in a while, but one of them, he flakes out, and then like you never hear anything about Graham, and then Benford comes in, and then Benford dies. He's the one Leon shoots in 6, and he was his friend, and like somebody tells somebody about the world needs to know.
Yeah,
I think it's Benford. I don't remember.
Benford, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Benford needs to know because he steps down and doesn't say anything.
Yeah, and then
Benford
Leon's like Graham's agent for years, and then all of a sudden he's Benford's, and it's like, you know, he has these like because he's a government agent, like, you know what I mean? He's close to all these people, so it's interesting. Like, again, something that like I would like to see him and President Graham have a conversation about before he goes to Europe.
Yeah, I would like to
shit
see the
like
intro.
that.
I'd like to see him on the plane.
Yeah,
flying in.
Yeah, and then the guys pick him up, and they got to take
it's
a piss in the woods.
Person, and he's got to like he like looks out the window in first person at the dude taking a piss. He's like, got a smoke. He's like, got gum.
Yeah, you just see him give he hands out pieces of gum in first person.
Also, which we'll talk about Mercenaries soon, but I do have something really important I want to say about Mercenaries.
Okay,
remind me.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much said everything I want to say on Ashley. What do you think about Ashley as far as like making her different, or do you think they should just keep her the same? Like,
I definitely
is she even that important to change? Like, you know?
I definitely feel like they should just do what I said, and just have her with you the whole time in the second half of the game, kind of like a Silent Hill 4, where you escort.
So you think instead of finding her at the church, you can find her like
just make the church the halfway point.
The bridge between the village and the castle.
Yep. Make the church like the last part that you do before going.
Maybe
to
you
the
fight
castle.
the big cheese at the church, and then Ashley's like in like a locked door or something, and then.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. I hope they cut the whole island. Honestly, like I would rather have one half of the game village, one half.
But
of the
then
game
you're talking
church.
about cutting regenerators.
No, put them in the church. Put them in the basement. They can fuse the. You could fuse. I said church. I meant the castle.
I was going to say the church.
Yeah, you can definitely fuse the church. I mean, the castle.
You could.
With the island's basement laboratory.
You could, because you're at the castle for a long ass time, literally all the way up until the redcoats on the lift.
And it makes sense with, Salazar being Sadler's little pawn, that they would have some type of...
He's like the bridge between you and the big guy Sadler at the end of the tunnel.
Or if the island does have to exist, just make it the lab. Don't make it the fucking mines and the fucking...
Yeah, some of that stuff I feel like could definitely be like
it was
trimmed
padded out
down
unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Like, and
Trimmed
I know, that, we're asking for less content? Yeah. Yeah, fuck the mines, dude. Like, they're useless.
Yeah,
you said it earlier off the stream.
Yeah, I said it off the stream because I feel like they really are, and it was literally pointless just to get like a fucking... You fight the villagers again for no like the enemy pattern.
They're just there.
They're just there. Like it's like little things like
and
that you don't need.
Plant dynamite on a boulder.
Yeah, and then you're on this like cart and you're on the tracks and it's like a haunted fucking hayride. You know what I mean? Like it's like and
it's like
yeah, it's like what is this? So but I mean like yeah, it's cool, but it's not needed. Like you could edit that out. You can actually just take that out of the game and it doesn't even matter, because all you're getting is just another piece to go to another part of literally because you go above ground and then you go underground to just go above ground and to use like an emblem for a door. So it's like what's the fucking point?
Yeah, and I don't like being shot at.
Yeah, that goes into the more action
cool
elements that people aren't a fan of in this game. This game is more action, and that means you're getting shot at.
Fucking Gatling gun turrets, dude.
Right, like Nemesis, getting shot at with him is enough, right? But I feel like, or flamethrower, rocket launcher, however you want to spin it. He shoots at you with fucking weapons.
Yeah, and Krauser can fill that role. Like Krauser could be the one that shoots at you.
He fucking shoots a TMP, and then bam, you're fighting his blade arm. But then before you know it, so it's like they can do that a little bit better. Maybe make the island the island has the regenerators, so that does make it more horrific. But you don't have to have the Ganados with the fucking.
Well, here's a question
Gatling
for you.
gun.
What do you think about them adding more like primitive weapons to the villagers? What if the villagers had rifles or shotguns?
That would actually almost make sense because you would think they would have some kind of hunting rifle or something like that, which makes sense because the shotgun was on the wall. You can imagine that was probably one of the villagers.
Yeah.
Like that shotgun you find.
I wouldn't mind
the
that.
weapons you find. It's almost like it works because
if they were
have
rarer,
some weapons.
but they still were around.
Yeah.
I just don't want the automatic stuff. Is like a one-man army doesn't work like that, dude.
No, and
the fucking Ganados have rocket launchers.
Yeah, they literally shoot down.
Come out of the
they shoot down Mike with a fucking helicopter in a helicopter with a rocket launcher.
I think Krauser should shoot Mike.
Yeah, it's like who's supplying Sadler's men with these RPG? Yeah,
it's the merchant, dude. He's a double crosser.
I was gonna say he is a double crosser.
He's a double agent, dude.
Yeah.
What if the merchant is Krauser? What if?
That's how he knew where Leon was the whole time.
Yeah, that's how he knew. He always, I don't know. Speaking of the merchant.
The merchant is the next point here. This is how I feel about the weapons, but I think that they should bring back the weapon upgrades and the weapon cases and all that goodness, even if the merchant is cut. So we, obviously talked about this before we went live too, or before we recorded rather, whether or not, the merchant should be in the game. I mean, I would still like him personally to be in the game because I love him.
Me too.
But I'm not going to be surprised if they cut him because Capcom, what did Michael Scott say in The Office? Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. That's what they're doing with this fucking with this shit. So he's probably on the cutting room floor. Whether or not the mechanics of the weapons and upgrading, that can still be implemented in somehow through some kind of shop system. They could easily do an RE5 and just make it an invisible shop. I don't know if they're going to make it part of the lore. I would like the merchant to be part of the lore, but at the same time, for me, the weapon upgrades and the currency and all that stuff and the treasures, everything from left to right, to me, that was one of my favorite parts about 4. Because to me, RE4, it was about obviously the story and some of the horror that was going on, but the fun in it was trying to get enough to get a case that will last you through the rest of the game, or to get a melee vest that might help you, or to upgrade your reloading speed or capacity, stuff that actually helps. Those are still survival elements that I thought were really well done, and to me stood out when I played RE4 back in the day, and that also was one of the main reasons why I love the game so much, is because it kind of fits seamless in there without being too distracting to the actual story. It was just the merchant was here and all this stuff's there, but you're still playing through it. It's not too distracting. It's not game breaking. It's just, it fit really well. And that's merchant or no merchant. That's more talking about the mechanic itself of upgrading and everything. But I think that you would have to bring it back just as much because that's what made RE4 stand out to me personally. Yeah, I mean, your take on the merchant being cut.
So I think he should be in the game. I hope they explain him a little bit more. Just at least give him kind of some story as to why he's there, why he's helping Leon in the first place. I think one of the ways they could revitalize or rework the treasure system is, I was kind of tossing the idea around earlier, but I think that they could have the merchant like trade you weapon parts or and trade you weapons for certain treasures that he's out there looking for. Like, make the merchant a treasure hunter.
Yeah, and he can
Like,
give you maps to do his fucking
and he can give you
route.
maps. He's like, oh, stranger, here's a map. I can't climb rocks. Go get it.
Yeah.
And like Leon will go find it. And if you want to do it, you can.
You're young and stupid.
It's like
You'll
a bonus
climb it.
objective,
Right.
right? Or if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And then he could help you get different weapons or upgraded parts or something like that. You know, like all the weapons I do love. I think the TMP's got to be in there. Handgun's got to be in there. The Red 9's got to be in there.
Love the Red 9.
I could see them making the Red 9 like a Lewis exclusive weapon. Just have him have it instead of Leon. And not give it to us. Like, there's a lot of things I could
Maybe
see.
you get it from his dead body.
Maybe you
That's
pick
how
it up
get
from
it.
him. Yeah.
Right.
I think that not necessarily attaching weapons to the merchant, but attaching weapon upgrades to the merchant in the form of weapon parts, I would be cool with. I think where the merchant could really come into effect is those weapon parts making it a lot easier. Because they essentially do the same thing, right? So, like, if you got a faster reload on, like in Resident Evil 3 Remake, you get the faster reload for the shotgun. You're essentially upgrading your reload speed, right? So they're doing the same thing. I think it would be cool to have the treasure system. I just don't want the money system.
I see. I don't mind the money system
Like,
as much.
I shouldn't say I don't want it. I'm indifferent. But if I had to make the choice, I would go the route that I just said.
Finding something and bringing it, like there's
bringing
more
it
work.
to him
Yeah.
to like, it's the same thing.
Right. I can all,
But
it
it's
must be
prevented differently.
just as much work as to get currency for it can be just as much work to get a treasure.
And like
to
I told
bring
you
it back.
earlier, it would be cool to have those items locked behind like puzzles. Leave the puzzles away from the main story, the main campaign, because it doesn't really make sense to have the puzzles really.
They are trimming them down every single remake we get.
Some of
so.
them will have puzzles, but like some of the puzzles do
if
make
RE3
sense.
had like 2, then this one's gonna have like -1.
Yeah, RE3 had 3 puzzles.
3 puzzles.
I think 3 puzzles.
So this one might have 1.
Yeah, it's gonna have the down left door puzzle.
That's it.
Or you're
just
down
the door
up
puzzle.
left or whatever you do. Whatever you do. Yeah, it's just gonna have that. I could see the church light puzzle staying, and I could see the
or maybe any other like treasure puzzles or something.
Well, that would be cool. Like, I would like there to be treasures locked behind puzzles to get the weapon parts. I think that would be a unique way to rework the merchant and make him relevant.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Like, have Leon be like, yo, dude, what the fuck are you doing here? People are, like, trying to kill me. And the merchant's like...
Give him some lore.
Well, you know, I need that pendant.
Give me the pendant.
And who knows? Maybe the merchant has something. Maybe you see him leave at the end with Leon. Who knows?
he just hey, here's a spot on the boat for you. You just see him on the back of the jet ski.
He's on the back of he just sits on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I want to see more Ashley flirting with Leon. I think that would be funny, and I think it would be cool. Like after he saves her a couple times, like have her really going for the dick. I think that would be. She can't just go for the dick at the end. It's like she's got to go for it the whole time, right? She'd be sassy. Maybe he flirts with Hunnigan and she gets jealous. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. I think it's hilarious. I am really excited to see what they do with Lewis. And they need to give my man a good death because that death was horrible.
Yeah, that's not...
Death was like top 10 most underwhelming deaths of all time.
Yeah, they really did him dirty. And
they
he's barely...
did him
he's
so
like
dirty.
He's kind of like... You know, he's in the game, but he's not. Like
He's like the original Carlos.
Yeah, he's there, but then he runs away, and then you don't see him, and then he dropped the sample, then he goes back,
Fuck,
and
even
then he
Carlos
comes back,
is
and he's
more-
dead.
Because Carlos is playable, at least for one segment.
At least, yeah.
In the original. Lewis isn't playable at all, except the cabin.
We can imagine the cabin sequence will come back.
Oh, yeah, the cabin sequence they already tested.
Yeah,
In
they
the
tested it in
hospital.
3. Yeah, Luis is great. Ashley's great. Leon is great. Well, Ashley's not great, but, you know, having at least those
Ashley's
3...
great.
No, she's terrible.
We're gonna have a segment where you have to play as her and solve the sliding puzzle.
Yeah, see, well,
Maybe the sliding
that
puzzle won't be
honestly, I don't even think that should even be in the game because I think that's completely fucking pointless. That whole section doesn't even need to be in there.
I would not be surprised if they cut it.
That does not need to be in there. I'm sorry.
You did great, girl.
You did great. Good. And then she comes running out the door. All right, well, let's go get the two other pieces that we need because that was the main objective all along. The only reason why you're fucking
and Lewis's
down here is because you got captured. Yeah. I get it because they wanted you to show Ashley's escape, but like again, like we don't need to see that. Maybe they could just trim it down a little bit.
They could just cut that part.
Yeah, because I just thought it was a momentum killer. Like I'm just running as Ashley throwing lanterns at these guys while I'm trying to use these cranks. Like, and then I'm running away from these statues that are slow as fuck. Like I'm good. Like
yeah, you could.
That never was a really like a highlight for me because to me that distracted away from the castle. It's still in the castle.
And in a speed run, that part's like 2 minutes.
Right, and she's getting a piece like for Leon's
the main
wall,
objective, yeah.
But like again, Leon can do that. Like Leon can be with Ashley when she goes into that section, you know. So it's like little things like that.
No Ashley segment, please.
No Ashley segment. Not a fan of her. Maybe that's why I'm saying that. But I really love the castle, and Luis and Ashley and Leon are usually all the ones that are in the castle because right when you get to the other end of the game is when Krauser starts.
Well, Ada too.
Yeah, she's there.
Which
for
we'll talk about Ada in a minute.
Yeah, she's there for 2 seconds. Like Leon and Ada literally did not even progress in this game at all.
No,
I don't think.
And I think they should.
Yeah, they
literally
they should
have a little bit more.
She shows up, and then you fight the dogs in the maze. She shows up, she disappears, and then you see her. She says, "Need a ride, handsome." Then she takes you to the island. She zip lines off, and then you see her at the end throwing the rocket launcher, and it's goodbye. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, you cut her down too.
Oh right, yeah, you do cut her down. Yeah, and then and then Leon
protects her.
Leon tries to choke the shit out of her because of the parasite taking him.
Well, that's in that mine part we hope gets cut.
Yeah, well, that's after the mines.
It's like when you come up.
Yeah.
That part can get
That
cut.
is right before you fight one of the regenerators in the prisons. But so like they could make Leon and then bringing up Ada into this conversation. Yeah, Ada's the other one who's lurking around in the castle with them, just kind of more behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, because of Separate Ways, you see that she's there the whole time.
But it's almost like you can't have you come to think of it, you can have Ada in this game without Wesker. But that would actually be kind of lame if we didn't see Wesker, because why would you bring Ada back and then who is she working for? What is she doing this for? And we have no reference. It a secret. They could, but that's kind of
just show
lame.
Wesker's like chin.
Yeah, like at least show us something. Like she's working for someone. Why are we keeping that a secret? Like, and we saw in the original 4 that it was Wesker. So
yeah, I mean, I think they should just show it.
I think they should,
but
because that's who she's fucking working for.
But will they?
No, they won't.
They didn't show Barry.
No, they didn't. So they
we called,
but they can even fucking take Ada out of the game. They could. I mean, it's not really. I mean, yeah, she helps you with the rocket launcher, but like, they could easily do that and just be like, "Fuck you, we're taking Ada out."
I would not buy the game.
Really?
Nope. Ada's pivotal to that because without Ada, as you see in Separate Ways, Leon probably would have died a lot.
That's true, but they can change that easily.
They
could. They can make it to where, hey, this is Leon's story.
They could change that, but they should not change that. You can't.
No,
have Leon
I agree. I wouldn't want Ada to get cut.
I know what you're not saying. That's what you think. You're saying that they could.
They could. Yeah.
I think that Ada needs to. Leon and Ada are a pair. You have to have them together.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think where there's Leon, there should be Ada. I just feel like if you're going to bring Ada around these parts, make her have some meaning.
Yeah, give Separate Ways on the disc. No DLC. Give us the fucking Separate Ways.
But even without Separate Ways, because let's just say, because they're probably not going to do Separate Ways. Let's be real. They're probably not going to do it. And if they don't do it, then that means that the main game has to make up for that. That's where my issues might lay, is like how. Okay, so if you're not doing Separate Ways because you guys just want to do the main game and get it out,
maybe they'll do the Leon Ada swapping.
They could do the swapping
like Carlos.
And same thing in RE2. We did play a part of Ada. You could do the same thing in RE4. You can make it, maybe she goes through the maze and it's different. You know, like they could do that and make it make sense, and you still know, because if she's in it more, then you know that she's behind the scenes more and she's around during the whole thing.
They can also trim the game that way too.
Yeah.
And you don't have to spend as much monotonous time
That's
with
what
Leon.
I was thinking. Like, I feel like they might just merge it all and just like have Ada show up more. You know what I mean? So it just seems like that would make more sense. And I would want to see Ada more because I love Ada and Leon, and why wouldn't we want to see more of them, especially since you set the foundation again in RE2. Have her show up again and just make her more of a character in this one.
I 100% agree. They need to make the chemistry between them two characters really well. What do you think about what else you got written down there?
Over here, so we talked about the merchant. We talked about like the weapon upgrades and stuff. I want to see that come back. Make changes to the village, the castle, and the island without cutting too much. So
yeah, which we kind of been talking about.
We've been kind of talking about that. That's kind of been lurking around. Just basically like, you know, not
cut the island.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't have to cut the island, but just trim the fat a little bit.
Yeah,
this game doesn't have a lot of fat. It doesn't overstay its welcome.
No.
But like all I'm saying, Capcom, is that not that you're listening to us.
Yes,
but,
you are.
But just if you're gonna make those changes, just don't make them.
Get rid of the mines.
Get rid of the whole thing. Just don't. You can even keep the mines and just. I don't even give a fuck at this point.
Just make it one train cart.
Just don't.
The whole
yeah,
whole
just
way.
don't
like 6.
Yeah,
with the Harper sisters.
Yeah, take out that whole part where I'm underground, and I got to do the double gigante, and then I got to deal with the invisible bugs on the other side of that wall. Fuck all that. Take all that out. No, I'm kidding, but not really. But
no.
It's such a weird. It's such a weird fuck because you got to like flick the lever.
Well, it's a pacing issue.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's a joy killer. It's
a momentum killer.
Boner killer.
Yeah, it's a momentum killer, and it's not. You know, but again, they're going to obviously make changes. We know this, guys.
But
we've seen.
Also, it's not like it's horrible.
And we're going in with an unknown, you know, headspace of not knowing what they're going to actually take out. We're just basing it off of like what they've taken out in 2 and 3, and that's what we're basing it off of. Now, some people might think, hey, well, they're going to take out even more because they took out a lot in 3. That's not always the case because
no, it's not.
You know, this whole area in Spain is, you know, a lot bigger than a city. So it's, you know what I mean? You're all over and you're going to a different island and stuff. Like this game is a bigger game than 3.
Yeah. Well, it is.
And
in scope,
just in scope, it's bigger. So it should still feel that way. Yeah, I mean, you know,
I have a couple more things I want to ask, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the perfect dodge mechanic, and let's talk about the defensive weapons. And would you agree with me? Would you agree with me that if they add melee to the game, it's cool that they cut those 2 things? I think they should stick with their gimmicks. They had defensive weapons in 2. They had perfect dodge in 3. So this time around, give us the melee. Would you agree? Do you think that's what they're going to do?
I would agree. You know, that's a good point because we do have to talk about it because the perfect dodge was like, you know, such a big thing in 3. And
I think it was really successful too. I think a lot of people really
loved
liked it.
Yeah, it felt so perfect.
Yeah. Pun intended. Pun
intended, yeah. But I think having Leon do the suplexes, do the head kicks, do the roundhouse, it's more of his thing. So like what you said, if they because he can still have like you know, hopefully he has his knife on him and they keep that where you can just pull
permanent
it out.
Knife,
you know what I mean? So I think they'll use that element from 3 Remake. But yeah, no, I wouldn't mind them sacrificing the perfect dodge for just more Leon melees, and if anything, you know, they did a lot of damage in the original. They're going to do a lot of damage in this one. I wouldn't mind it. I actually wouldn't mind it at all. I think some people might be used to it, so they might be like, well, why can't Leon do perfect dodging? Or maybe, but at the same time,
Leon is doing things that Jill can't do.
Leon's doing different things.
Which we've talked about this before with the perfect dodge. Can Leon perfect dodge? Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah.
You know,
especially if he's running, flipping, doing a backflip and like dodging lasers.
Oh yeah, that part too. We got to talk about that part. Not today, but we'll talk about that part. Talk about that part eventually. But that's not the point. It's the game has to game, right? So Leon's doing stuff that we haven't seen before. I would like them to be cinematic with them.
Would you want the quick time events to come back when they grab you? Because in 3, you just press it to the point where they only do 1 bite, right? But in 4, you got to wiggle the stick and then he kicks them off. What do you think they're going to do now? Are they just going to let Leon get hit and he's not going to have any melee? Or do you think he's going to just have an immediate melee attack depending on... Because you have to have a button prompt. He's not just going to fucking punch him. I think they're going to bring back the quick time event, bro. Well, I think they're going to bring it back.
I think what they could do is they could have... it almost seems comical, but I was going to say a grapple system. Where like if you shoot a zombie or Ganado and like they're in a certain position and you run up to them and press that L1 button or R1 button, whichever one's the dodge. I think it's L1.
R1.
It's R1
or L1 depending
on what you're doing, right? So you press the button to do the perfect mechanic. I think it should just like snap him to it where he's just like, "Hwah!" and he just does something to them and he knocks them on the ground. I'd like them not to have a button prompt. Just make it very apparent that they're like staggered and you can go do something to them. That would be the route I would take. As far as getting grabbed, I would just keep the mash system. Just keep it, but don't show the X
because now
button.
they're not biting you because they don't want to bite
they're
choking you. So I guess it's like you have to break free.
It's the same thing. Otherwise, they do more damage.
Right.
Or maybe, just like in the other one, like maybe if like they're choking you, if you don't press it off far enough, they'll like slam you on the ground, and that's what does more damage.
Yeah, right.
I think they could keep that. I think that the melees need to be there.
Keep the knife there.
I think the same thing with the perfect dodge, though, with the bugs. You know how because Leon does have a perfect dodge, basically, the kick.
Yeah.
Where the things come after you, and he's like, "Hwah!" and he roundhouse kicks it. I think the R1 melee button could be used as a perfect dodge.
Or a quick attack or something.
So if something goes to grab you and you press R1, Leon will just knock them down to the ground or like kick the roundhouse,
or take out his knife and slice it real quick.
Or take out the knife and slice it or whatever. I don't think it needs to have the slowdown, and I don't think it needs to have the roll. Because Leon wasn't really known for being a roller. He's more of like a physical kind of person, like Carlos almost. So I think like a perfect dodge for some things like the bugs that you can't see makes sense.
Right.
I wouldn't roll. I wouldn't backflip or anything like that. I would just do like the roundhouse kick counter. I would almost call them counters, basically. It would be like perfect counters. I think that having the ability to perfect counter Krauser would be awesome, and I think they should make you play the fight with Krauser instead of watch it.
Right.
Or you should watch it instead of play it. I don't want button prompts. No button prompts.
No,
Either
I don't
show
want...
me or let me play it. One or the other.
I think me and you are in an agreement there, and you guys know our stance on like quit. We've talked about this when we were doing our Legacy series for 4.
Yeah.
But we're like just take out the quick time events. Like,
dude,
don't put
cool
them in the cutscenes.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
I don't even want to run from the boulder, dude. It's like a pain in the ass.
It just feels dated. Like, I play it now and I'm like, all right, like I'll do it because it's RE4, but like I wouldn't want this in a 2020 game or 2021 or 22, whatever the fuck this is coming out. I don't want it in this modern game. Like, you know, pressing a button real quick or like, you know, like the little, you know, like you're starting a car in RE3, like that's minimal, right? Like that's fine. But like, for getting knives thrown at you and all this shit and it's like it was cool back in 2005, but I'm not feeling it in 2020. You know,
yeah, for sure. I think that they should definitely do something like that. I think it would be cool, like just to have the difference with Leon being able to suplex and roundhouse kick and stuff like that. Like,
and clearly he's become a better fighter, a better agent. So like this,
better
you know,
survivalist.
That's one thing that I got from how Leon was in 4, or my original impressions of 4, was that, you know, again, it was a lived-in Leon. It was someone that's been through Raccoon City, and now obviously everything after Raccoon City is going to give you some kind of perspective, no matter who you are after the fact. So he's probably done a few missions between, you know, 98 and 04, 05. So it's like, you know, you see that growth, and I like that. But that kind of goes back to when I talked about his character, is that like I would want to see that too. I think we both want to see a good Leon that adapts to that, and then they make his movements like his character, or the way he would counter like his character.
Yeah.
Then like that's perfect, because that's all we really need. We just want Leon to remain Leon and to have him do what Leon does. Just like how I didn't want to see, like, there was nothing that Jill said or did in 3 where I was like, Jill wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And that's how we should feel about Leon in this game. Like when we played through RE2, we're like, that's how Leon would act in this situation. Like, it's, you know, it makes sense. So, but one point that I have on here that is kind of like, that kind of goes over everything overall of what we're talking about, is making it more of a horror experience.
Yep.
Because I think that's really the main thing. Because even like with 3, like it was more action, but it still felt like a horror experience to me.
Which
like,
4 still feels like horror in some ways.
It's exactly in some ways. It's not
is very horror.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the second half is where we have some of the issues where it falls away from horror. I dubbed 4 action horror. I think that's a
action
good way.
Horror.
That's
a good way to put it.
Right. I think Remake 3 is action horror too. But I don't dislike that. Like, it's fine.
Right.
That's
I don't mind.
Fine.
There's going to be more action. There's going to be even more action elements in 4 than there is in 3. That goes without being said.
Bro, I don't think it's possible to have an over-the-shoulder true survival horror game. Like, a true to its roots back then. Like, I don't care what people say about The Last of Us. I don't care what people say about The Evil Within. Like,
No.
it all has other kind of genres blended into it.
Of course, yeah. And you wouldn't have those two games if it wasn't for RE4.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have
Yeah,
Last
you
of
wouldn't
Us
have,
if it wasn't
or
for
Dead Space. You know,
Dead
like
Space, right.
even Dead Space to me is action horror. Like, to
Absolutely.
me,
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's just, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love it. I love
Dead
the
Space
action
2
horror.
is a fan favorite, and that's action horror.
It's action horror.
110%
Yeah.
it is, and it's great.
I think that when it comes to survival horror, a lot of people have this stigma where, like, if it's not survival horror, it's trash. But that's not the case. It's not true. First person is not even trash. It's perfectly fine to have a good first person
It doesn't
game.
really work in...
It doesn't work in the way they tried it,
Right.
in our opinion.
And the way they tried it, it should have been a spin-off, in our opinion.
Yeah, in our opinion, 100%. Because there's things about Survivor, I think, that could have been good in theory that they just didn't execute on. And then, like, with 7, obviously 7's a better game than Survivor.
Right, and we're
But
not... Yeah.
7 doesn't have the elements of stuff like that we got familiar with. It felt like if it was its own game, it would have been better. That's a dead horse we beat all the time, so we're not going to get into that. But
At least 2 used 4 as the framework.
yeah,
as far
for the
as
framework. For 4, you know, like, it's action horror. Let it be action horror. Don't try to make it survival horror. Don't try to make it action. Let it be what it was in the beginning, but cut down a little bit on the automatic weapons.
getting shot
Don't
at,
make
stuff
it,
like
don't,
that.
It's not even the getting shot at, I think, that bothers us. I think it's the one-man army feel. Leon is not a Superman. Like, he is a Superman. Him and Chris and Jill, they're all like these incredible survival heroes.
in the RE series.
They're not taking on a small army by themselves. It's not that kind of game. It's not supposed to be that kind of game. They're not bionic humans.
I also want to see Leon get more like physically fucked up in this game. Like, you know how you saw Jill get like physically fucked up by Nemesis and all that shit? Like, I want to see Leon like have
Leon,
some fucking
show him being human.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that was missing in 4 because he was just like flip it by the end of the game he's flipping on wall. It's like, bro, you've been here for like 12 hours
Have the
now.
big cheese really fuck him up this time instead of just flip him.
Right.
I never understood how he flips Leon and he's falls unconscious. Like, what does that shit?
Yeah, he hits a shelf onto
He hits Lewis.
Yeah, he's just like, oh. Well, I guess I'm going to go to sleep now. Like,
yeah, he's like, oh.
And of course, you know, we know he's going to be injected with the parasite.
Have him those hallucinations and that thing that happened in the cabin. Have that happen more often.
Yeah, no, yeah. Have him like while he's playing, like just go like he starts coughing up blood, or like what if that's cool? It's like what if like when it gets really bad towards the end, like it's actually affecting like how you attack.
Yeah,
this is going really into it, but that's
he could be fucking holding his side the whole time
right
because of how drained he
right.
is.
Yeah, like by the end, like make it more of that effect, like long-term effect. Like, you know, obviously we know that Lewis tells him about the parasites hatching the eggs and all that stuff.
Oh no. What if they have a system where you have to take those pills to not die?
That'd be cool.
Remember when Lewis was like...
No, yeah, that's what I was just thinking of.
He gave him the pills and he's like, it has helped suppress the parasite. Yeah. What if he gives them to him early on after that
You
happens,
and Ashley both have to take them because
and you have to
infected.
take them.
That'd be cool.
But you only get a limited amount. They wouldn't do that.
That would be too like that'd be too hard.
They'd be like, oh no.
But, like, people don't want to play this shit. No, I think it would be something if they did something cool. Like,
it would be cool if he took them in cutscenes though.
Yeah.
Like over time.
Or towards the end it makes him fatigued.
Yeah.
You know, but no, yeah, I don't mind if they add more horror elements. I really would like it to just be, you know, again, keep the regenerators, like keep the stuff that made the tone and atmosphere frightening to some degree, because I still feel that dread in RE4 despite it going in some directions.
Dude, villages are terrifying.
5 is a whole different ballgame because that is definitely like action city. But 4 but 4 is it still has the meat and potatoes to
still feels isolated.
Yeah, it still has everything
because you're by yourself.
Yeah,
you have Ashley, but let's be honest, she's not doing anything.
No.
So you're by yourself still, and that's important.
Yeah, and that's why it felt scary, and it was single player too, which was a big thing, and it was darker.
It was a darker theme.
Yeah, it definitely was. We saw that from
5 was very colorful with the green filter,
right, and the 3.5 even looked dark. So it seemed like they always wanted this entry to be darker, and I still think they you know succeeded in that. But now, as long as they don't like take out major parts that really disappoint me, I don't think we'll have a problem with this game still having a horror feel just mixed with action in there.
I'm excited for it.
And yeah, no, I I think it's one of my favorite games. So it's really under the microscope
and
now.
And the original's not going anywhere. How many times have we said that?
We've said it a lot. Yeah.
The original's not going anywhere.
We've said that since the RE2 show.
A couple more rapid thoughts I have. I want to see the dog come back. I want you to save the wolf, and I want the wolf to come back and help you.
Yeah, save Wolfie. And
what do you think about Mercenaries? Let's talk about that, because I guess that'll be the last major point, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I have written down here. So I put bring back Mercenaries. I mean, you have to. It's not even a question at this point, because
that's when it blew up.
Yeah, you brought it back for 4, and then you had it on 5 and 6, and if you didn't do it in 3, then what the fuck? So now, like, we wanted to see it in 3, and we talked about that being a problem that we had with the game on the RE3 show. So this now, bring back Mercs.
Big thing.
Bring back the characters.
Huge thing that I always hated about Mercenaries in Resident Evil 4 that they really need to do this time. They really need to make Lewis playable.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that.
They only had
he might
5
replace
characters.
Wesker if Wesker's
they only
not in
had
it.
5 characters in the original.
Right.
So why isn't it an even number?
Because if Wesker isn't in it.
If they don't put Wesker in it, you still have Hunk, which nobody will know. Well, they'll know from Fourth Survivor. But you have Hunk, you have Ada, you have Leon, you have Krauser, and you have... It's not canon, so they could fucking put Wesker in it.
They could put Wesker in it.
So you have those 5 characters, right? If they do those characters again, they need to add Lewis. And fuck it, you have RE3, so put Claire and Jill in fucking
That'd be
there
cool.
too.
And then make a reunion DLC and
well, maybe that's the
like
thing.
5.
Maybe RE4's DLC is Code Veronica.
Oh man.
I'm just kidding. Don't you should probably cut that out. people are gonna be like they're gonna be fapping at the computer screen.
Oh my god.
They're gonna be like, what do you mean?
Why isn't this Code Veronica?
No, but seriously. Put Lewis in the fucking Mercenaries mode. Give us more stages, or at least the same amount of stages. And give us unlockables that you can only unlock by playing Mercenaries, like the hand cannon.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah, give us some of the extra content that gives us stuff in the main game.
The new game plus in the original RE4 was great. So definitely, I think Mercenaries included bring back more incentive for the new game
and bring
plus.
Back the suit of armor, Ashley.
Yeah, bring back the suit of armor.
The only costume that ever did anything in the game.
She cannot get grabbed. They fall down. It's great. Bring back just good unlockables.
Bring back the fucking
the hat throw.
Leon.
Yeah, the Mafia Leon. Yeah, just bring back good unlockables, man. I mean, even RE3, love the replay value. Got so much hours out of it and enjoyment to this day.
Unlockables have never quite been have met the standard that RE4 set.
Right. And
since RE4 set the standards of unlockables, they've never been remet.
That's true. I mean, if anything, they've just taken out more of like not the new game, the new game plus aspects, but the mini games have been cut down tremendously.
Ooh, bottle cap game. I want that too.
That's cool, but if the merchant's not in there, then
the merchant's got to be in there. And if he's not in there, then it's not going to be in there. Give us the bottle cap game. Make that a menu game, like a bonus game at the end you can play. You don't even have to put it in the game. Just put it like in the extra content.
Yeah, I mean,
like to have that.
Just
target
something.
Practice.
Yeah, I love the target practice and getting the little figures. Like I thought that was cool. Like just little things like that.
That's where the figures started too.
Exactly. So why take them out? Hopefully they don't. Fingers are crossed. Again, we're gonna obviously cover this thing all the way through.
Maybe they learned from 3 how much people actually care about some of the cut stuff. Regardless of how you feel about Resident Evil 3 and things that were cut from 3, we're not here to talk about that today. You guys already know how we feel about that. We
Listen
both
to our
agree.
4.5 hour show.
Exactly. we both agree that the stuff shouldn't have been cut the way it was. They could have had tons of ways to add it to the game in different ways. Some of it bothered us. Some of it didn't bother us.
Right. We still didn't think it was like too short or anything like that. And this one might be.
This might be a direct answer.
Or an answer to it.
A knee-jerk reaction to what the fans said about 3. Like, oh, you don't want less, so we give you more. And all of a sudden, we've got Wesker in the game, and he's running around killing people. And, who knows what they're going to do.
And then people will still find a way to complain.
Well, yeah, because Wesker's sunglasses will be from Nike instead of Adidas or some fucking bullshit.
Oh,
like,
man.
Nani?
Be like, why is it from Nike?
Why does Wesker have orange hair? It's blonde.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, no, 4... of course, like we're gonna,
we're going to follow it very closely.
We're going to follow it closely. We're going to give you guys updates as we get updates.
We're going to be on top of 4 just like we were on top of 3.
Yeah, and then same thing with Resident Evil 8 because it seems like 8 is going to be coming out first.
And then apparently they say RE4 is arriving in 2022. So we've got a couple of years.
Right. We just know it's in development right now.
And 8 will be a nice candy to hold us over. Hopefully 8 will be really good. We're going to be doing a show on that. You guys will see that after this one.
Yeah, just like this where now here's the thing. The difference between this and the RE8 show that we're going to do is the RE8 show we're basing it off of actual information.
Yes.
This we're just kind of talking about. This show is just us talking about what we would like to see and how we think of 4 and how we portrayed 4. We're still going to do an RE4 review show, which we'll be doing, eventually as we get through the reviews. Because I think up until this point we did an RE3 original retrospective, so we got to do Code Veronica next. So when we eventually get to our we're probably going to get to that before 2022, I'd imagine. So
the retrospective
in-depth
movie projects that we want to do, we're hopefully going to be having those done by 2022.
Hopefully.
Like the first couple of games. So we'll be at 4 probably.
Right. The podcast discussions, though.
The podcast discussions, we will probably be we'll probably be through 6 by then.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, we'll make an effort right here, right now. You guys, we'll promise you guys, we'll do one of those podcast review discussions every 3 months,
like in-depth ones.
Yeah,
because the last one we did obviously was on 3 remake, and
then 3 was coming out.
3 was coming out, so we
could do 4 next.
We did the we did the retrospective in September for RE3, so it's been. It's been a few months. We've done like a retrospective podcast. So if the next one we would have to do Code Veronica, and then we would have to we did remake in 0, so we would have to after Code Veronica we would do 4 probably. Unless
it's always good.
Survivor doesn't deserve one.
Survivor deserves one. It just doesn't deserve what we're going to do the main lines first.
Yeah. The main lines probably, that probably would make sense.
We'll leave Survivor for when we do the retrospective projects.
Yeah, the little baby games like that, we can kind of fill in, and then talk about it. Because
that's going to be really cool because we have live action skit plans. We have, history of development, interviews. There's a lot. Those shows are going to take a lot longer.
Right.
To
those
be
are more
made.
of like video series ideas.
I would not be surprised if by the time 2022 rolls around, we're only done Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Like we'll be doing the original and the second game, and we might
those
not
would be
even
full video projects.
They're going to be like almost hour long.
Yeah.
Like projects.
Yeah, definitely more videos for you guys to watch, and then
those are, I think, going to be like the highlight of the channel. Like we're going to put a lot of love into them.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we're going to have a lot of fun making. You guys are going to have a lot of fun.
We're going to be on camera and stuff.
On camera.
Yeah.
Very, very critical editing. We're all going to play a part. Dustin will probably score it. Anthony will probably, direct it. I'll be helping them with their talents because they're better at those things than I am. So I might do some of the writing. It's going to be a really fun.
It's going to be a labor of love for the fans.
100%.
And I think, we have a lot of stuff going forward in 2020, obviously, besides the Resident Evil 8 stuff, because I'm sure this summer we'll see a Resident Evil 8 trailer. Like, I'm sure we'll see something
July.
really soon.
I think June or July.
For the next gen. So this year is, despite everything outside of the gaming world not being so great, I think as gamers, we have a lot of exciting and new stuff to look forward to and to cover, especially in the world of Resident Evil, because it doesn't seem like the consoles are getting delayed or anything's getting delayed. So it seems like this is going to kick off. This is kind of like the tail end of the old generation of consoles, and where we're talking about RE3 and we're talking about these games that like Final Fantasy VII that like just came out, like those kind of games, and then 2021 is going to be like if we get RE8, which we probably will next year.
Yep.
That will be a whole nother thing to talk about because that's going to be covering the newest edition, and it's been some years since we've covered a brand new sequel on the channel because RE7 was already 3 years ago, which is fucking crazy to think that it'll be like over 3 years old.
January 2017, right?
Yeah. So it'll basically be going on.
I feel like it was 2016, but it's like
it will.
Time is so weird.
It will literally be 4 years old by the time 8 comes out. So it's like, it's crazy.
And in between that and this, we had 2 and 3.
Yeah, we had 2 and 3.
Crazy, which 2018, 2017, 2018, or 2017, 2019, 2020.
Yeah. So and then we have a lot of stuff, and of course we're jumping on our live stream tonight as well. So
we'll be live, and as of we're recording this, and
Jeff Shine
25
interview.
minutes.
Jeff Shine interview was also
Up
posted,
today, yep.
so listen to that. Check that out.
We dropped that a couple days ago.
I'd imagine we'll see something on 4 probably in 2021 after RE8. Like I think they're really going to put the RE8 promotion cycle this summer onward. Maybe release a demo, playable teaser like they did with 7. They can do the same thing. Have us play it and kind of like dissect it and see what's going on. If they want to add more of those like Easter eggs in the demos and stuff like that. Who knows what they're going to do. But, you know,
We'll be here to find out.
we'll be here to find out. And, you know,
We are not going anywhere. We did take a little bit of a break to kind of sort out the whole coronavirus situation that's going on.
yeah, me and John are, you know, essential workers now.
We figured it out, and
But
we're here. We'll
we're-
be here weekly.
Yeah, but we're working now with an inconsistent schedule, but we're going to pretty much just, obviously, like we've always done, just work with it despite
Yep.
that being the case. And, you know, yeah, we got a lot of stuff planned for you guys, and hope you've been enjoying like all the content so far, because it doesn't stop here.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like.
Hit
And
that
make
like
sure
button.
you comment and tell us what you're excited for, you know, with the all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 4. Let us know, you know, what you're scared about, if you think they'll nail it, and do you think Capcom will have a knee-jerk reaction to the reaction that the fan base had with Resident Evil 3?
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this, you know, on Libsyn and iTunes and all of the downloadable platforms, thank you for tuning in. That's all I really have to say. Anthony, do you have anything else to say about the RE4, like a send-off message before you wrap it up? or-
I say, yeah. I would say, you know, send off message for me. RE4, I'm still personally excited about it. You know, I think it's easy to, you know, not be excited or maybe be let down because of something, you know, because again, some people might have felt a certain way about 3, so that might affect other individuals' mindsets when going in. But I'm still really excited, and I have high hopes for 4. And it is one of my favorite games of all time, just like how RE3 was. So for me, I'm going to just try to stay excited and positive, unless I see otherwise, you know. But yeah, I'm really
I'll be
I'm really looking
honest
forward
with
to
you.
it.
Like I said earlier, I'm a little pessimistic because I'm just so drained by all the toxicity that happened with RE3. I loved RE3 a lot, and to hear people just bitch all the time about it sucked.
yeah throughout our
So I
whole,
kind of moved away from Resident Evil for a
yeah.
couple
Well, I
weeks.
mean, guys, you have to think about it too. It wasn't even just like when the game came out. It was literally towards the whole RE3 cycle, which is now, I guess, coming to an end.
yeah,
From December to May,
now basically
it's been constant, just like from other people.
everybody is always.
I'm not
upset.
gonna, I'm not gonna say it's you guys in the community, no. But like we've been, I mean, comments and
It's like I couldn't
you
escape
know,
it, man. The internet was just like
social
everywhere
media,
I went.
and
Even the
everything.
YouTube channels I watched that have nothing to do with Resident Evil were playing it and complaining about it,
Right.
like it was cool to do. And you know, whether you feel like it dropped the ball or it didn't, it doesn't really matter.
It's a
You
matter
know,
of
it's
opinion.
Over now,
Right.
but I still don't agree with all the hate. I don't think it needed as much hate as it got. I definitely think there were things that struggled with the game. I also think that 2 wasn't as great as everybody says it was. Remake 2 struggled too, and I think they dropped the ball on a lot of stuff, but didn't get a lot of hate. And I think it's mostly just down to, you know, the negative energy that was created from Nemesis's redesign. I think it carried itself all the way through.
It's a good point.
And just
actually,
like
I never actually thought of it like that.
like the negative mindset.
I never
that
thought of it
everybody-
like that, but that makes
Yeah.
it's literally from like that first complaint onward. It was like
it was just everybody
downhill.
was finding reasons to be upset. And I know if you're one of the people who are upset, you have every right to be upset. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it is what it is.
And
Like,
there's
if you
people
don't
that
like
commented on.
Yeah.
I just want to say real quick, like, you know, post RE3 show or 4.5 hour show. I've seen comments be like, "Hey guys, I completely disagree," and you type 2 paragraphs as to why. That's fine. You know what I mean?
it's
Like
100%
that's
fine.
okay. Like and we understand. We're just letting you know what we're not upset about and what we were.
Yeah.
And you guys obviously heard our reasoning in that show.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there. Like people are saying that, you know, the budget was given to Resistance instead of to 3.
Yeah, like the misinformation, guys. Like just
There's
all you
a
got to do
lot
is
of misinformation.
all you got to do is a little digging and research, and the internet.
They
It's
did
not
not
hard.
share a budget.
No,
Their budget was separate. It was done by 2 different companies, 2 different studios.
2 and 3 were
M2
made at the
and
same
K2,
time.
Like 2 and 3 are being made at the same time. There's a lot of misinformation. And you know what? If all you want to do is chalk it up to something that doesn't matter just to verify that you're upset, I'm over it. So we're not going to be talking about it really anymore. I just wanted to give this little message here just because even in my live stream yesterday, there was just a whole lot of like, I was being asked about Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it instantly was being told that it was bad because of this, this, and this. I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. I loved RE3 Remake. Yeah, they're not the originals, but what can be the original but the original? Like, remake culture doesn't... You're not going to just make the same game. They're just not going to do that. And,
No.
I understand if people don't understand
remake,
that. Remake,
reimagine, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. Remake, reimagining,
Doesn't matter how you spin it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you spin it. There's no one definition, despite what everybody wants to say there is a definition.
Well, a remaster, that's a...
Well, the game companies don't fucking care, though. They'll call it a remaster and change things anyway.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what
true.
I'm saying. Like, to
Right.
us, there might be a definition, but to them, they don't fucking care.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's a remake, but we change half the story.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, that's not really a remake. But,
and I think to your point about the misinformation, weighing on some people's like views, it shouldn't, because it's like all those people that commented like on our video that said that they disagree or whatever, they played the game. They finished it multiple times. They have a right to talk about it. It's the people that take other people's opinions and then they'll be like, well, this is how I feel about it now, whatever.
Well, that's the other thing, too. Since we're on the internet and I can't generalize or say my point without being picked apart, let's also say this, too, right? So I'm not saying that if you feel a certain way, you feel that way because of misinformation either. Some people do, though.
Yeah, right. We're not saying
misinformation
everyone.
doesn't mean everybody is feeling a certain way. Misinformation just means that, like, to justify the way you feel
because of said information,
with said information that's not true, you may still feel that way even if that information wasn't present.
Right.
But you're just chalking it up to that misinformation in some cases,
and not backing your
own feelings up when your own feelings might be legitimate and you just don't know how to express them. Right. Like, obviously the Gravedigger, obviously the Clock Tower. There's a lot of stuff here that, we haven't really, we didn't get them because they cut them from the game. Bro and sisters, brothers, sisters. You have every right to be upset about that. And, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. Our whole purpose, our whole point behind that podcast and why we were so adamant in saying that it wasn't rushed and it wasn't this.
Or it shouldn't have been DLC.
It shouldn't have been DLC. Is because at the end of the day, man, we got what Capcom wanted us to get. That was it. That's all. Like, that's literally the bottom line. We say they cut content. They say we never planned to put it in. It wasn't. It was written and then scrapped. You know how there's really cut content.
Yeah.
Like, there is cut content. Cut content from the original is irrelevant because they didn't cut the content. Cutting content means that there is a Gravedigger model in the game and they didn't use it because they had to cut it for time constraint. They reimagined the game, which means, unfortunately, despite what me and Anthony want and despite what we want as a community, they didn't want to bring everything over. And that's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be 400 paragraphs of toxicity in the comment section. Not even just on our videos. Because I would say, in general, our video, our community is pretty positive, or at least passive, right? So they might say, hey, I don't agree, and this is why, but they're not like, you're a fucking idiot, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no.
Our community is really good. So those of you listening to this show know that you guys are, for the most part, you're really good. There's a couple assholes in there, but it is what it is, right? You're always
gonna find that one person that takes it too far.
I also call it passion, right? If somebody's really passionate about something and they get a little ticked off and they're a little rude, they don't always mean to be rude to us,
right?
You can kind of read in a comment where they're being like fucking rude, but you can tell it's just because they're really genuinely upset. Let's not. All I ask is that when we go forward into this Remake 4, from the early stages of what we're being shown and the early stages of the information that's coming out, don't latch on to one negative thing and let it carry your mentality through the development cycle. Just give it a chance.
Yeah, just give it a chance.
If RE4 fails, it fails. If it works, it works. It's still not going to be better than the original. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
The bar is set really high for 4 especially.
Yeah, for 4
I think
especially.
even more than this game than 3 because 4 is literally considered like favorite games of all time on people that aren't even Resident Evil fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone RE3 being maybe a favorite to people like us.
It's the
who
same
are
thing like Final Fantasy VII. Like that was most people's first and only RPG.
Right.
Like there's, or JRPG rather. Like it's so important. And I know this is an RE4 show, and we're kind of talking about RE3 real quick, but it's
well, this is a show that's following up that. So
exactly,
I think
it's in
important
line with the
it.
remake talk,
right?
Stay positive.
We're staying
said this
positive.
last time. We're staying positive.
Yeah, I'm excited for RE4.
Admittedly, I'm excited too. I am a little pessimistic about the way the community is going to react, but at the end of the day, like, I'm going to still love it. We're going to still play it on Let's Talk Resident Evil, part of the Legacy series. It's going to be something that's going to be celebrated.
It's going to be cemented into RE history like RE2 and 3. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to be a snapshot in time, and it's going to be a fun one.
Exactly.
I'm
snapshot in time.
looking forward to it. And if we don't like it as much as 3, we'll tell you, because we'll be honest. So
I honestly don't see me disliking it more than Resident Evil 2 remake. No. So like, it's going to be good no matter what. I think. I think there's some things they could do that would really mess it up, like cutting Ada or cutting the merchant.
Right.
Even the merchant, we'd have to play it first, though. You can't judge something without playing it.
Which is what we've been saying since fucking December up until April when it came out. We're like, hey,
we
we
have
have
been saying
to play
since
it.
Remake 2.
Well, yeah, that too.
You know?
Yeah.
It's 7 even.
Yeah, even 7.
So what we were saying. Like,
I was defending 7 all the way until it came out, and then I played it and I felt a certain way about it, and that was me being honest. You know what I mean? Like back in like 2016, I played it. I'm like, I don't know, this and this doesn't work.
Just don't know.
But then I was like, well, you know what? It could work. I was giving it the benefit of the doubt, and then it comes out, and sometimes it could be a little bit more negative. So, you know, yeah. So it's that's pretty much it, though. That's all I have to say about Resident Evil 4.
That's all I have to say too for now. We will probably have a follow-up show.
Maybe once there's more information, or again, we might go through this topic again at some point. But we just wanted to make it because a lot of people in the community, in our community, have been asking us about what we think about RE4 being remade.
Rightfully so, because we did disappear for a little bit.
We did, RE4 is, again, it's a fan favorite, so a lot of people wanted to just hear us, and that's why we did this show.
Yep. So thank you guys for watching. That's all from me.
Yep. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Whoa, what's wrong with subscribing? Come on, don't leave me hanging. Hit that subscribe button for more Let's Talk Resident Evil content.